Welcome back, Advanced Guitar. Let's jump right in. Today we're going to be doing a lot of blues stuff. So number one, we're going to talk about that minor pentatonic scale. We're going to learn that pattern with our left hand. Then we're going to talk about the blues scale, which adds only one note to the minor pentatonic, so not really a big change. And number three is we'll talk about the rhythm. Now, once we're done with that segment, we can move on and start getting into the more intermediate techniques, okay? So grab your guitar, grab your coffee, grab your blues, and make sure you're in tune. Okay, I'm going to adjust this guy and we can get started. Okay. So, to do the minor pentatonic, I'm going to give you a pattern, and I would write this down. Starting on the 5th fret, we're going to have our index on the E string. And what we're going to do is refer to fingers. Each finger takes up one fret. Here we go. Index, pinky, next string down, index, ring. Same thing on the D string, same thing on the G string, and the last two strings you're going to do index, pinky. Good. Now coming back, you'll hold down both fingers first and release one at a time. So pinky, release to the index, down to the next string. Put both fingers down at the same time if you can. Then ring, 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 pinky, index. Good? All right. So now let's refer to the notes. This is advanced guitar, so we want to focus on what we're actually playing. Be educated and all that. So this position, the 5th fret on the E string, is an A note. You might remember that from when we were doing chromatic scale a lot, right? So if you started on just the E string on its own, that's E. Then the 1st fret would give you F, because there's nothing between E and F, right? So here's F. 2nd fret gives you F sharp. 3rd fret gives you G, 4th fret gives you G sharp, and then you slide up to 5, and that's A. Okay, so now back to the minor pentatonic scale. By the way, it's called the minor pentatonic because it's based on notes found in the natural minor. Also, the penta refers to 5, so pentatonic means 5 notes in the scale. Technically, tonic refers to the first note of a scale, or the base that the scale is built upon. So the cool thing about the pentatonic is that almost all 5 of those notes have the same weight, the same kind of magnitude. So let's now do it note by note. On the 5th fret E string we have A. We use our pinky on the 8th fret to play C. Then we move down with our index to the A string 5th fret, and that gives us D. So, then we use our ring finger, which is playing E. Then the D string on 5 gives us G, and the ring finger gives us A. Now if we wanted to refer to these as numbers, we would do 1 on the A, 3 on C. In other words, the 3 of the scale, so the 3rd note of the scale. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. Remember that every scale, well, every major Western world scale has 7 notes. The 8th note is the octave. In the case of the minor pentatonic, we're playing 5 notes, so we're skipping a few, right? but we can still refer to the numbers as if it were the natural minor scale, for example. So if we played A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, that would be all 7. But the minor pentatonic skips 2 of those and keeps only 5. Which makes for a very predictable pattern, and it's recognizable to pretty much everybody. So now let's just practice that over and over, going all the way down all 6 strings. And what I want you to do is actually start doing down and up plucks with your pick. So you get in the habit of moving quicker and quicker with your pick. And again, since this is advanced guitar, we want to ramp it up a little bit and put some technique in there, put some sizzle. So that means remember your techniques. Remember your hammer on, your slide, your bend, your pull off, and your mute. All right, so now you have something you can practice. Now the cool thing about this minor pentatonic scale is once you have the finger pattern memorized, you can play it anywhere on the guitar. So if I played it on B, it would be. And if I played it on C, if I played it on D, you may notice I screwed up on the B, right? It was supposed to be here, and I played here. But anyway, that brings me to part 2, which is the blues scale. We only add 1 note for this, to the minor pentatonic, that is. So back on that 5th fret, we're playing index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, and that's all great and good. We need to add 1 tone, and that's E flat. In this case, it's E flat. So we're going to play index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, index, pinky. So far, we're going up with the minor pentatonic. And when we come down, we want to add the blues tone. That's what they call it, the blues tone. And so in this case, it's going to be E flat. You can also call it the flat 5. So it's going to sound chromatic, a little different, a little cool perhaps. Going from the top, we're going to do pinky. Release to play index. Next string down is the B, we're going to hold the pinky, then index. And here's where we need to add that E flat. So that E flat is here with the pinky. Normally we play with just the ring, but with the blues scale, we're going to add this pinky to that G string. So pinky on the 8th fret here, G string. And if we keep going, this is A, this is G, then here we play ring, and we're going to add the middle finger to the 6th fret for that E flat here. Step down to D, then C, then A. Okay, so try going from the top again, because that's when you can really kind of feel that descending blues line. So pinky, index, pinky, index. Now remember, we're going to do pinky, then ring, then index. Then continue. Ring, index, ring, don't forget the middle right here, index, pinky, index. Not so bad. Good new. So that is the minor pentatonic with the blues note added. That blue note is the flat 5. So remember I said you can play the minor pentatonic anywhere. Same thing goes for any scale, but same thing goes for the blues scale. So when you play on the B, for example, the same exact rule applies. And if you just remember that we need to add that single tone for the blues, that flat 5, you can do your counting if you need to, right? So 1, 3, 4, 5. And if you know this one is 5, then stepping down by 1 fret gives you that blue note. So every time you find that 5th tone in the scale, just go down by 1/2 step, go down by 1 fret, and it will be the blue note. All right? So if you do the regular minor scale, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now on our way down, let's add that flat 5. So here's 5, here's flat 5, then 4, 3, 2, and 1. Try it out yourself. And so on and so forth, okay? So again, you can play it anywhere. And you can spend probably like 3 hours with this scale because it's recognizable, it's fun, you can play along with a lot of different things. All right, on to the last part for this segment. And that's the rhythm of the blues. It's kind of like a stumbling walk. So if you imagine someone just, I don't know, being out way too late and being debaucherous and they're stumbling home, it's kind of that feel. So it should be loose, consistent, but loose. It's kind of a weird oxymoron, but hey. For this, I'll show you my right hand. Give him the right hand. Okay. So down here on the right hand, we're going to focus on this dotted quarter followed by an eighth, or you can think of it as a dotted eighth followed by a 16th. If you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, just try to copy the overall vibe. It's a Now that doesn't really mean anything to you because you're just hearing the strings get hit. If I add some chords to it, you'll immediately hear the context. So that should give you the vibe right away. You've probably heard this a million times, and I hear it about a million times a day, at least while I'm active playing music, because it's so common when you jam. It's so common when you play along with music or when you're just warming up to play the minor pentatonic and to play what's called the 12-bar blues. So that's the rhythm of the blues. Let's talk about that chord progression now. So we're transitioning out of that first part and going into the final stretch of today's class, which is how to play the blues progression and then embellish and play solos over it. So we take that same rhythm we just did, that stumble step, and we throw some chords in there, and you should know these. So let's switch over to the left hand. So in the left hand, I'm going to play that E major, and that E major is going to be played without the index. Now again, it's advanced guitar, so we want to add little pieces to show how much better we are, yeah? So if you take the pinky off of the E major chord, it's technically playing a 7th, so this is a dominant 7th chord without the pinky, without the index. It's also kind of like a rock-on chord. So you can take the pinky off as an added embellishment. And most times you play the blues, you're going to do that kind of thing to kind of spice it up and maybe reveal that you're about to move chords. So as I'm playing, right? It's a common thing to just play around with your finger arrangement, see what sounds good when you remove, see what sounds good when you add, for example. So play around, try to see how you can have fun with it. But that first chord is E major. The next part of the 12-bar blues would be moving from this chord up to its fourth. So that means that in the scale, we're going to pick that fourth note. If we're starting on E, then let's treat that as number 1. So E is number 1. Now look at your keyboard or use your mind and imagine it and think, if E is number 1, then go up the alphabet and figure out what number 4 would be. So E is 1, F is 2, G is 3, A must be 4. So that's what we're going to go to. We're going to go into an A major chord. We can do this with the movable shape, which I taught, I think, a couple weeks ago, and maybe did last week as well. So this movable shape allows you to use what's called a bar chord with that index finger, where you squeeze against all 6 strings. So we take this E major, and we just simply slide this. So we take the shape itself, we take all the fingers on each string as they are, and we just slide along the rails until we get to our A position. And you might remember the A position from our minor pentatonic. So our index has to end up right here. So we just slide up, and our index takes over right there. And as long as all these fingers were on the same strings, that's an A major chord. So that's the second chord we play in the blues progression. Okay? The third and final chord we play, yeah, seriously, it's that easy, just 3 chords. The third and final chord is B. So when we play the B, we're using the same logic as the A. We're sliding on the rails until our index holds down the B position on that E string. So if this right here was A, then this would be A sharp, this would be B. So we have to get our index up to this spot. Pretty easy. Just slide on the rails, and then our index will take over for us, okay? And so, again, assuming these fingers didn't change their rails, it's still going to be a major chord, and in this case, it's going to be B major. If you want to get technical and play it extra correct, another oxymoron for you, we can make it al dente by taking that pinky off. And remember, that is a dominant chord, so whenever you have the major chord in a bar position or at the bass, if you take your bar and remove that pinky, it makes it a dominant 7th chord. We'll get into the theory of that later on. But if you want to be dominant, you just take that pinky off. Okay, then we come down to that A major, so we just slide down 2 frets, and then we slide back down to the E. Now the reason why it's called 12-bar blues, by the way, a bar is the same as a measure, which is, in most cases, 4 beats. So, 12-bar means we're going to repeat some of these chords more than others. This E chord down here at the bottom gets repeated 4 times before it changes. So that means we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, and then 4, 2, 3, 4. And right there, we're going to change to the A chord. So we slide up. And this we're going to play 2 times. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Then we slide back to the E, and we play this 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Finally, we slide to B, so we go all the way up to B, and we only play it 1 time. So we slide up to that 7th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Step down to the A here, also playing it only 1 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we slide down to the E for 2. Just back to the E. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 2, 2, 3, 4, right? So you get the picture. It's 4 times on E, 2 times on A, 2 times on E, 1 time on B, 1 time on A, and 2 times on E. Just like with the minor pentatonic scale, just like with the blues scale, just like with any scale, and most things on guitar. You can play it pretty much anywhere you like. So if I wanted to start on a different note than E, I could. But I have to understand the rules and the logic first. What I did was I played 12-bar blues, and I played 3 chords. The first chord was E. That was my number 1, E. Then I played A, which was my number 4. Just in terms of the notes, in terms of the scale, this would be the 4th note in the scale. I also played a B, which would be the 5th note in the scale, so 5. Lots of numbers and letters flying around. So once more. We played 1, 4, and 5. And that's all we did. Those were the only chords. If we use the same logic, we can play it anywhere. If I, say, play a G, blues, well then I'm going to start with G as my number 1, here on the 3rd fret. And now I need number 4. So if I count in my head, what's number 4 in the alphabet starting on G? Well, I got 1G, 2A, 3B, 4C. Okay, so I have to find C. I know that's on the 8th fret. You might need to climb your way up there. That's fine. So there's 4. Again, I'm starting on the 3rd fret for G, sliding up to 8 for 4. Then I need the 5. And if G is number 1, then 5 has to be, let's see, well, I just played C and that's 4, so D must be 5. So I just go up 2 more frets and play D. Cool, so now I can play the minor scale, the minor blues scale, on G. Here we go. So now you can have fun in a lot of different positions on the guitar, playing all these chords, really not that many. It's 3 chords inside that standard 12-bar blues progression. Take these and practice them. And as you're playing these blues progressions, you can add the scales on top. So what I mean by that is if I go back to this E position, and I'm playing the E blues. When I go up to the A position here for 2 bars, I have the opportunity to play the A minor pentatonic right here because our index is in position. So it sounds like this. And all I'm doing is taking advantage of the time I have here on the A chord to play the pentatonic. And once my time is up, I have to go back to the next chord. So in that case, it was E for 2, right? Then I have to go up to the B, and it gives me a very limited window. So playing on the B, it can be done, but you only have so much time. Experiment with that. Try playing the minor pentatonic scale after each chord position, so A, B, and E. If you're down here at the bottom, we need to talk about how to do the pentatonic here. And this will be the last thought for the advanced class. Imagine that your index is holding a fret here, an imaginary fret that's beyond the nut. If you keep that logic in your mind, then you can easily see the same thing you did before. So here would be your index. Here would be your middle, your ring, and your pinky would be out here on the 3rd fret. So now let's try it. So play the open string as if this were a fret, right? So it's kind of holding it for you. And now your pinky is going to be on that 3rd fret position. Well, next comes the open, then ring, ring, pinky, and pinky. Not so bad. So that's how you play the E minor pentatonic here at the bottom. You might be wondering, why are you playing an E major with an E minor pentatonic? Well, you don't have to play E major. Just take this off. But I think it sounds just fine with the major chord as well. Okay, so practice that, play around, make mistakes. And that's your bottom position for the minor pentatonic scale. So this is where the E minor pentatonic lives, down here, without your index being involved at all. Okay, so that concludes today's class. Take all of this and go practice, play along with some cool blues tracks, and really get into it, get into the vibe, get into the flow and the rhythm of the blues. Okay, good luck, cheers, and have fun.